Welcome to the new episode of She Gets It Done. Make sure to hit subscribe, comment, or like. We hope you love this week's episode. Enjoy! Hey guys, welcome to She Gets It Done episode 4. It's a new year, 2024. Welcome! I hope everyone had a good Christmas break wherever you're listening from. You might have summer holidays at the moment. Enjoy it. And if you're stuck in winter, sucks to be you. All right, today we're going to be talking about doggy daycare versus dog walking versus nothing. Like, does your dog need any
of
entertainment
that.
during the day or not? I'm quite passionate about the topic. Obviously, Laura is, because she is a dog walker. She was a dog walker. So yeah, let's get into it. You want to?
Yay. Yeah, so and I was also a doggy daycare attendant for many years. So I've seen it all. I've done doggy daycare, dog walking, and nothing.
Yeah, so you're the
So yeah.
specialist on this topic.
Yeah, I mean I can really try to not be biased and be like, okay, I've seen this, I've seen this, and I've seen this,
Yeah,
and see what, I find better.
yeah,
So shall we just jump into it with the pros and cons of
definitely. I think I don't know, maybe it'll be worth explaining a little bit what the doggy daycare and dog walking culture is like in Australia and New Zealand.
oh yeah.
I think in New Zealand it is massive. It is much bigger than when I left Melbourne here. Like nearly every dog goes to doggy daycare or they go to a dog walker. And then here the dog walkers sometimes take up to 30 dogs with them. And they go to like a forest area and they get the run off lead for like an hour and a half, which gives me major anxiety. And
Hmm.
then they come back and they're in the car for a long time of that, right? Because if you have to pick up between, let's say, 10 and 20 dogs, that takes a long time, especially in morning traffic. And then they walk, and then it's the whole drop-off thing again. So that is really big, but so is doggy daycare. There is a lot of people that get puppies and they think that now their dog has to go to doggy daycare because I think since COVID, I think COVID was the instigator of all of this. People think their dog can't stay alone anymore,
Yeah.
or they don't teach him to be alone because we're working from home. And then I've got clients that get babysitters for the day, or they go away half a day and they have to go to doggy daycare for that half day. And like, to me, that's just wild because my dogs sometimes stay alone at night. Like, it doesn't happen very often, but we could leave at like 5 p.m. at night and come back at 11 a.m. in the morning and they're fine. They just sleep on the couch. So
Yeah,
I
same.
think that's where the whole discussion comes from. For me, at least. Like, to me, it's all a bit cray cray.
Yeah, and like I've seen that with new clients as well, or new dog owners, and
Mm.
that's the first thing they tell you is like, what do I do when I have to leave my house without the dog? And
Yeah,
it's like this question didn't even exist 10, 20 years ago. You would just
oh,
leave. But
absolutely.
now it's like, oh, I'm gonna need to be out all day. I need someone to be with the dog.
Yeah,
So that's a new thing. Didn't exist before. And so
definitely.
yeah, solutions were brought by doggy daycares and dog walkers. And yeah, in Australia and here, I mean, I'm in Melbourne, so I can't talk for all of Australia, but there's a lot of, yeah, doggy daycares everywhere. I just looked today and there's so many new ones that have opened as well. And dog walkers are, now that we're back into a new year, are popping left, right, and center. I don't know how to say this, but
That's
like
how you say it.
everywhere
Yeah.
there's dog walkers. And that's it's not a bad thing. Like, I think it's good because in a way things are changing too. Like, we all work more and now no one, like, people are going back to work, so all the people that were working from home during COVID, they're now less at home. So yeah, things are changing. You need to find ways, but also I think it's important to not forget that during, I don't know, centuries, dogs were very used to be independent and alone, and not be with you all the time. So that's still
Like,
there. We can we can still do that.
yeah.
So yeah.
I think people underestimate what not leaving your dog at home does with your dog. Constantly
Mhm.
having them entertained and around other dogs and not
Yeah.
sleeping actually creates a lot of the issues that they're probably experiencing. But we'll go over that in a minute.
Yeah. But
And
yeah, so that brings us to, oh,
yeah,
sorry.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
That brings us to well, just wanted to go through the topic of what a dog in a natural environment, what their day would be like if they're in a natural setup.
Yeah,
And that's what a lot of people forget or maybe don't know about, is that dogs are very quiet during the day.
yeah,
So a regular dog would get up in the morning at sunrise and do a bit of scavenging or hunting or like a activity, like they would play, run, whatever. And then
yeah,
after that, they're done and they sleep most of the day. Then they'll sort of get up and go pee and drink and, like, dig a little hole somewhere, and then they'll just go back to sleep until it's like sundown. And that's where everybody has seen this. You get the zoomies, you get that crazy time. That's the time where your dog is most active. And that's it. That's a dog's, like a dog that has a fulfilled life. That's his life. That's all they need.
yeah.
So
And
so yeah,
I would say some dogs might be slightly different. Like you have your working breeds that do
yeah,
work, and I just want to point that out before someone comments, but I have a Kelpie and Kelpies need 5 hours of exercise a day. Yeah.
yes,
Like,
yes.
I just want to point it out. Yes, there's differences in dogs, but in general, it's exactly what Laura says. Your dog is active at sunset and sundown, and in between, they need to sleep a lot. They don't need constant entertainment. They
But
need,
like, let's go with the Kelpies. So I have family that live in the Falklands, and I'm not making this up. They have a farm. They have a sheep farm, and they have their dogs that they use to move the sheep around and stuff.
yeah,
And those dogs, so they are working dogs. Like, they don't live inside the house. They live outside. They have
yeah,
their own, like, work. They don't go and do sheep work every day.
that's
But
true.
when they do, yeah, that's a full-on active day. The dogs will be like from dawn to dusk chasing sheep and working.
Mm.
And that would be like 2 or 3 days of intense work. And after that, that's it, we're done. And the dogs go back to the farm and they don't work for like another 4 or 5 days. They don't do much. And they would have that pattern of like sleep, rest, go
What?
crazy,
Yeah,
work. But it's like, it's not, even for those dogs that are working dogs, they don't work all day every day. They have their breaks. Like, they have their days where they're like, okay, yeah, today we do nothing. And
yeah, that is
because
so
they're,
true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And if you don't believe Laura, go watch Muster Dogs on Netflix. They will show you that that's the case. They rotate. Also, they also
yeah,
rotate which dogs they're using, especially if you have like 10 dogs or something. But
yeah,
anyway, I think we're going very deep into that.
yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
which I think it's good because a lot of people probably don't realize it. Like it doesn't matter if you have a Kelpie or a Chihuahua, they don't need to be up so much. Like dogs are supposed to sleep around 14 hours a day, puppies closer to 18. And then I guess, when they're in their prime, maybe 12. They just don't need to be constantly entertained. I think that's a very human thing that we assigned to dogs. How do you pronounce that word? Anthropomologize or something like that? I don't know.
Anthropomorphism.
That one. Yes. So I think that's really something we have done to dogs. Like, oh, they can't stay alone because it's sad and they will feel lonely. We don't know that. And They need friends. That's another one.
Lots of friends.
They need lots of friends. And then going from that, we see the photos of the dogs playing or on the pack walk or the daycare. And then people will say, oh, look, he's smiling. Your dog isn't smiling. He's just panting. That's not a smile. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't be happy for your dog, but don't put human emotions on your dog's experience. It's not the same. Are they having
Yeah.
fun? Probably. Heck yeah.
I'm sure, yeah.
But they're not smiling and having fun necessarily. Yeah. Don't fill in those blanks so much. Alrighty. So
All right.
obviously we're talking about doggy daycare and dog
Yeah.
walk. We're not saying don't do either of them, but we did want to list some pros and some cons. If you are deciding at the moment, should I put my dog into doggy daycare? Should I go for dog walk? Or should they just stay home? Maybe this podcast will help you make a decision.
Excellent. So let's start with doggy daycare.
Yeah.
Okay. So we went through some pros and cons of the what's good and not for the doggy daycare. And for me, I was trying to look at it from owner's perspective, because as trainers, sometimes we forget that. And the first thing I think about when I think of a doggy daycare, it's convenient. It's
Yeah.
a convenient way to leave your dog for long hours in the care of someone else, and you know where they're gonna be, and you know they're not gonna destroy your house, and you know when you come home there's not gonna be pee on your couch and poop in your carpet, and like nothing's gonna be broken. So yes, that's the convenient part. You
Definitely.
take your dog there, they do whatever they're doing there, and when you come home from work you pick up your dog and you go home.
Yeah.
What else?
It's also a good place if your dog has legit separation anxiety. And I
Yeah.
say legit with a reason, because these days every dog has separation anxiety and they don't.
Yeah.
If your dog cries a little because you leave, that's not separation anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for dogs that actually will injure themselves or escape out of every yard, every crate, jump through windows, doggy daycare is great.
Yeah, and I would use that as a temporary solution, as a management solution when you're working on that separation anxiety. So yes, we need to keep living. Yeah. So if you have a dog that will injure themselves, escape and stuff, doggy daycare is a really good pro. Like, okay, let's put the dog there. He'll be safe. They'll keep him safe. He's not gonna injure himself. He'll be with people. So that's good. But I would also, yeah, definitely recommend that. You need to do something about it. You can't just leave the next 10 years like that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you
Well, you
do,
can if you can afford
whatever,
it.
yeah, whatever floats your boat. But it's in terms of for the dog, it's not helping. It
Exactly.
helps you. It's help you manage the situation, but it's not helping your dog get over it.
Very,
So
very true.
what other pro of a doggy daycare is, if the doggy daycare is run well, your dog gets to be with like-minded dogs, with dogs that are suitable for them, so they actually can make good friends and have good interactions there.
Yeah.
Always emphasis on if the doggy daycare is run the right way. So that's something, it's hard to tell if you're not
So what
actually
is
seeing the play.
so how do I know if it's the right way? Right? I would
Then
say
that's
it has to do a lot with your group shouldn't be too big. There shouldn't be too much barking. The dog should have rest. In between. I know that Tyler Muto has changed his whole daycare system, and it's now an enrichment daycare. So he rotates the dogs that are out, I'm pretty sure, and they have to do like training a little bit, and then it's like go and do some sniffing over here. Now you go on your place. And they actually, I think it's a daycare for me where dogs aren't just running around in the same circle playing constantly for 5, 6, 7 hours straight. It's where they actually are told, no, now you need to go sleep. Or
Yeah.
here, let's go do this activity. Or I need to clip your nails. So we're going to train that. Like stuff like that. To me, that's
Yeah.
daycare.
And that's what we used to do when I work at the doggy daycare. We used to have rotation. So we had like 4 different pens
Oh
with
yeah,
different dogs, and we never had, I think the most dog we had in one pen was probably 12 fish.
yeah,
And we did the rotations in terms of we would go into one pen and make it really active and be like, okay, now we're gonna play this, and we would play with all the dogs.
yeah,
And then we would finish the activity and put those dogs in a smaller pen, or like separate the dogs, or do some switching so that the dogs will calm down and rest. And then we would go to another pen and play with another group of
yeah,
dogs. And so I think that's important. So if you're checking out a doggy daycare and they tell you, oh, this is where the dogs go and they just play, play, play all day, for me, that's a red flag right
same.
away. Like, yeah. So owners want to hear that the dogs are playing, but a dog trainer doesn't want to hear that. They want to hear that the dogs are regulated, like
Yeah.
the stimulation is not constant.
Well, it's kind of like a daycare for kids, right? If you would send your kid to a daycare and they say, oh, they just play all day. They don't do anything else except playing. You kind of go like, but aren't you teaching like manners, or don't they ever do a puzzle so they can work on their fine motor skills or to problem solving? Like, don't they learn how to share? Like, that's all the stuff you want your kid to learn when you send them to daycare.
Yeah.
If they were just sent out into the sandpit for 6 hours, you probably go like, well, I don't think my child is benefiting much from this.
Yeah.
I think. Hope so.
I think, well, we gotta make a difference. Like, you're not sending them to a board and train. So if you send your dog to doggy daycare, you don't really have the expectation that there's trainers they're training your dog, but there's a minimum, right? There's a
Yeah.
minimum thing that you, like me as a doggy daycare attendant, I wasn't training dogs per se, but I was always doing things that to me seemed that would benefit the dog in their life,
Yeah.
like working on impulse control, working on, sharing with other dogs, working on being with other dogs without pestering them. All of those, I thought they were good life skills that
Yeah,
these dogs
exactly.
coming to dog daycare should have. And I remember having workmates that would tell me that I was a party pooper because I was like, no, these dogs are like overstimulated. We need to like calm them down. We need to separate them. Oh, you're a party pooper. They're just playing. But see, this is where I think it's important to find a doggy daycare that has staff that are able to see when it's too much,
Yeah.
when the dogs are like, no, this is over the top, and like,
Because when
mm,
it's too much, that's when the dog fights happen.
yay,
You know, and
yes.
dog fights doesn't have to be like blood and ripped skin and vet visits, but it could just be scuffles, you
And
know? And
crankiness, yeah,
scuffles in a group with 20 dogs is never good. Yeah,
yeah.
so you just don't want that to happen.
And
I
you don't want the dogs thinking that that's the way it goes, because I've been in
that's
places where we let the dogs play until shit hits the fan, and then everybody separates the dogs and the dogs calm down. But if your dog group experience is always like that, guess what? That's what they think life is like. They go out to a dog park, or they go out to another place where there's dogs, and they're gonna start playing until shit hits the fan and someone takes them out, because they don't know how
that's
to stop
so
that. It's
important.
just
Yeah.
that's what life is like. So you have to be careful when you send your dog to doggy daycare, that especially if it's a puppy, that you need to be aware that what your dog is doing in that place, that's what they're learning, that socializing with other dogs, that's what it's like. So then they think that's how it is in everywhere
Real life.
else.
Yeah, that's it. I think that out of everything in this podcast today, take that one with you and remember that, because it is exactly that. If your dog gets to practice being a bully or being an overstimulated, rambunctious, but I love everyone dog, if they get to practice that 6 hours straight for 3 times a week, that's 18 hours of learning bad manners. You
Yeah.
can never unteach that
Mm-mm.
without some real good training, especially if you do
Yeah.
it systematically for months, you know, and
Yeah.
that is how your dog gets in trouble on the beach, or this is why your dog becomes leash reactive when you're starting to walk them. Because they do not know how to be around dogs and do nothing. And
Exactly.
doing nothing might seem boring to us humans, but it's so necessary for dogs. They need to learn how to relax, how to just be chill, how to be able to see the world go by and be like, oh, cool, I'm fine with that. Like, if every time they see a dog, they lose their shit because they need to go say hi because that's what we do at doggy daycare, that is the recipe for a leash reactive dog that you won't be able to handle. And then you get into the cycle of, I don't understand. He is so good at doggy daycare, but with me, he is horrible. I don't know. What am I doing wrong? Maybe I should send him to doggy daycare more to socialize more. No, you need to take
No.
him out of doggy daycare and stop completely. And now I'm the party pooper.
Ah, yeah, but that's true. Like if you find yourself saying this phrase because we've heard it, I don't understand. He's super good at doggy daycare. That's your answer right there.
Yeah.
That means your dog at doggy daycare is good because he is put with other dogs that are as crazy and as playful as them.
Mm,
And then that's what they think everybody else is, but it's not. So that's a good way to find out if, you know, the doggy daycare is being beneficial for your dog.
that's it.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. So should we move on to walks?
I think so. I think we covered a lot of it. I think the only thing for doggy daycare is to mention that a lot of dogs, you know, the saying a tired dog is a good dog. And that's why so many dogs are sent to doggy daycare. A tired dog isn't a good dog. Well,
No.
an overtired dog is not a good dog because they end up
It's true.
actually being more destructive, more reactive, more
Yeah,
difficult to train. Um, so yeah, that I feel dogs need to learn how to just
chill.
relax and lie down on the couch without
Yeah.
constantly being, what are we doing next? Let's go.
Yeah. I
Like
think there's
Red
a
Bull
huge
nonstop.
difference. I think there's a huge difference for a dog between being so tired I can't move and being like, I just know how to chill. I'm not necessarily tired, but I'm just gonna lie here because we're not doing anything. And I think if you think
Exactly.
about how mentally that feels, I prefer, personally, I prefer to not be exhausted and be able to chill than
Exactly.
being like, I'm so tired, I fell asleep on my chair, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
But
mentally,
also,
it's not good.
remember when you feel that way, when you're so exhausted, how short is your straw? Is
Yeah,
you know, like your fuse, I should say fuse, not straw. Yeah,
yeah,
like you easily blow up over the littlest things because you're so tired you can't deal with it. Whereas
yeah,
if I'm just calm and chilling and I have a Sunday afternoon that I want to watch Netflix for 5 hours, yeah, I feel great. Yeah, that's a different chill. I like that you brought that up.
yep,
Let's
yep,
go to dog walking then.
yeah. Dog walk. So to me, there's a lot of pros for dog walkings. Mainly because things have changed. So we all live in more urban environments. We all work more now. There's less people in the house than before. Like I always bring this up, but like when I was a kid, we had a dog, and we didn't really walk the dog much. But also now I remember my mom was always at home. There was always My mom was always at home. So yeah, the dog had company, you
He
know. I don't even know if that dog had separation anxiety or not because he actually was never put in a situation where he had to be
was
home alone
alone.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So, but now it's different. Like, so we have to acknowledge the fact that things have changed. And like, yes, now there's a lot of situations where if you live with your partner and your dog and both of you work, there's gonna be days where the dog is definitely home alone all day. And if you live in an apartment or in a house with very small backyard, it can get really long, you know, and like even for some people, the dog doesn't have a proper space to toilet or stuff like that. So I think those are situations where bringing in a dog walker is really good. Like it really breaks the dog's day.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and it gives
agree,
them,
especially if it's a single dog.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they're really home alone all day. And dogs are social animals. So yes, a dog can cope. Well, a dog that doesn't have separation anxiety can cope home alone all day. But if that's gonna be their life for 10 years, it's a bit
that's sad.
sad. Like
Yeah,
I'm not gonna question why you got a dog in the first place, but like let's face it, like if that's gonna be your dog's life, then you need to bring in something that makes your dog's life better. And
yeah,
I think that's when dog walker comes in. It's nice. Like I did dog walking for like 7 or 8 years, and I walked the same dogs for 7 or 8 years.
yeah,
So to me, I was the life of those dogs. Like
yeah,
I was part of their entire lives. Like there's so many dogs I walked when started walking when they were puppies, and I walked with them their entire lives. So that for me, that was a life for a dog. It's like that I was part of
oh,
their
absolutely.
daily. Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Um,
When
yeah,
when I got Lennox, I was still working full time as a primary school teacher, and my partner was also full time working. So we got a dog walker in twice a week just to break up his day because he was a small puppy by himself. But he saw Lennox grow up until we left, you know. So it was like mess. Like like Scott was sad too when we left. Like he came and he said his goodbyes and everything, but yeah, when Scott came, Scott had his own things with the dogs, you know, he just knew them. And then we
yeah,
got Zelda as a second dog, and he really got her from the start. So it is, you are a big part of your dog's
yeah.
life if you stick with the
So,
same walker.
and yeah, and I think that's what, like if you compare doggy daycare and walker, if you stick with the same walker, because that you found the right one and that dog walker stays, then you're really adding a family member into your dog's life. So that's someone that your dog looks, forward to see, and is like, oh,
Yeah.
I know it's Tuesday, the dog walker's coming today. Like I can tell you that the dogs know
Dogs know. Yeah.
if you walk dogs regularly. Like I have my dogs, my Monday dogs, my Tuesday dogs. They know, and if you change the days and you come to the house
Like,
and it's not the usual day, they look at you like,
you're
why are
not
you here?
supposed to be here.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is your day. So those things I think are important. Like dogs are routine animals. And I always say I like to change things up a bit, but I think that's a big pro of getting a dog walker. If you find a permanent one that's really good, it adds something really good into your dog's life when you can't be there.
Yeah.
So
I
that's the
agree.
good thing.
Plus,
The other thing is, yeah,
go ahead. I
what
was
what
gonna say that that person also knows your dog. So if something seems wrong, you have an extra
yeah,
person to keep an eye out. Like, oh, he doesn't seem 100% today. Like they can pick up
yeah,
on it, which I thought was
yeah.
great.
Yeah, definitely. And again, same as with doggy daycares, what you need to look at is, well, make sure that that dog walker doesn't walk 60 dogs in the same in the same walk. Um, I was a big fan of small groups, but that's just me. I'm not saying that big groups are bad. It's just very very hard to manage. Yeah, so it just depends what you're after.
Yeah,
I like small groups. I think up to 6 dogs is a nice little group, and if you always walk the same dogs together, they really become friends. They really build relationship and friendship, and you can really go distance with that.
yeah.
So that's something I would, the pros
So,
and cons. Yeah,
yeah, so that's another pro. They have friends, but it's a
yeah,
select group. It's not 20 dogs
select
at the
group.
same time. It's just
Yeah,
easier to manage for a dog.
yeah.
So another
And
good
and
thing.
what happens if that? Yeah, no,
Go
you
on.
go.
I was just gonna go to next point on
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
pros. So another good one is the peak activity that you mentioned earlier. So your dog likes to sleep mainly during the day. So with dog walking, your dog gets picked up in the morning, it gets their outing, and the rest of the day gets to sleep it off. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that is a way more natural rhythm to a dog than being up for 6 hours straight is.
Yeah. And even if the walk happens in the middle of the day, which is maybe
Yeah.
a bit less natural, it's still a small amount of time where your dog's gonna be active, where your
Yeah.
dog's gonna be doing interactions and stuff, and the rest of the day is still gonna be quiet at home. So
Yeah.
before,
And it
in the
breaks
middle,
up
like
the day
in,
too.
yeah, it
You're
breaks up
working
definitely.
and they're home from, I don't know, 9 till 12:30, then get
Yeah,
to be out from 12:30 till 2, and then it's
yeah,
just 2 till 5, and then you're home
yeah,
again. 3 hours
yeah.
by themselves at a time is fine.
Yeah. I think it's really reasonable. And providing that you also give your dog, one-on-one time, that you also walk your dog, like you're not just relying on your dog walker to do everything. Your dog will have a really fulfilled life. And you don't need to have a dog walker in every day, because most dogs, if the dog walk is done right and it's really it's really active, the next day they don't need that same
Yeah,
adventure. So
agreed.
1 or 2 times a day is good.
Yeah, especially if you're walking your dog in between as well.
Yeah, and
Um,
training and all that.
Cons for dog walking?
Cons. So if you have a dog that is destructive or barks a lot, maybe just being with a dog walker won't be enough. Like, he's gonna be barking and destroying stuff the rest of the day. So that's an issue you need to fix before you get a dog walker.
Yeah,
The other one, the trust bit. You need to trust your dog walker because they're gonna have access to your house. So that's something, I don't know. I never had an issue with that. I think I
neither.
come across as a maybe trustworthy. I don't come across as dodgy, but there is that thing, the responsibility. Yeah, for me as a dog walker, I
Mm.
have the responsibility of making sure that the house is closed, that I didn't leave the gates open, that I didn't lose the keys, things
Mhm.
like that. So that part is
Yeah,
a con for me, that yeah, you need to find someone that's not gonna be like going through your drawers and looking at your stuff.
definitely.
Yeah.
And
And yeah, go.
and the other one is the walker might cancel on you
Yeah, yeah,
on the day they're not well, or it's raining really, really
yeah,
bad, or there's a storm or something.
yeah,
Obviously they might cancel. It can be a little bit less reliable than doggy daycare,
yeah, definitely. So
depending on who
that
your walker is. If it's Laura, she'll always come.
yeah, I never canceled.
That's
But
it. That's what I mean.
there's not that many like me.
That's right. All right, let's move to our recommendations because we'll have about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, so quickly go through the recommendations.
So check out the doggy daycare. Look at the barking. If you walk in and it's just massive constant barking, that's a no-go. Check the size of the groups. um, some of them will have really big groups, or they will say like, oh, but the small dogs are with the small dogs and the big dogs are with the big dogs, but they're still big groups. Or the puppies are with the puppies. That isn't necessarily a good thing. Like,
Yeah,
small dogs can play with big dogs and the other way around. They don't
yeah,
necessarily need to be separated. They need to be separated based on play style.
yeah. Ask about their activities. What activities are done during the day?
Yeah,
I think that's important.
agreed.
What else do we recommend? If you're gonna use a doggy daycare or a dog walker, we think once or twice a week should be enough for a dog that is fulfilled in their life. If you need more, if you feel like you need more, what you need is training.
Yes. And then we did a little bit of maths on that, right? Because it's easier to send your dog to doggy daycare or for training because your dog pulls on lead or whatever the reason is that you sent them, right? But a doggy, let's say $55 for a daycare visit times 3 times a week is $165 a week times 52. That is 80, that's nearly 9 grand a year that goes to doggy daycare. And that's only if you have one dog. Did I even do that right? 55 times 3 times
Don't ask me.
52. Yeah, it is. And that's $9,000 for daycare for your dog. You could
Yeah,
spend $1,000 with a really good dog trainer and fix the issues that are sending your dog to doggy daycare to begin with. May it be separation anxiety, barking, destruction, whatever. your dog probably doesn't need daycare as badly as you think he does or she does. And the same goes with social time. Your dog doesn't need as much social time as you think your dog needs. They don't need 40 friends. If you have a dog at home, if you have 2 dogs at home, they don't need doggy daycare. They have each other. Yeah, it's my thing on there, because you don't want to use daycare as a crutch. You want to fix the problem with a trainer.
Yeah. And most dogs are very happy having their own little family group.
Yep.
They don't need to find friends outside. If you already live, like for example, my example, we have a big family. Yeah. So it's me, my husband, my 3 kids, 2 dogs, people coming and going. That's plenty for my dogs. They don't need anything else. So not everyone has a big family like that. But if there's already you, your partner, or your dog, or you, your dog, and your dog, that's enough. That's enough.
That's it.
Just make sure you take them out sometimes.
So yeah, exactly. So you want to make sure that your dog is actually able to be alone. And you don't start that with, let's leave him home for 6 hours straight. You start maybe like, can he stay alone for an hour or for 30 minutes? And start building on that, because you really don't want to create that dependency of, I need someone with me all the time, and fill that gap with daycare or walking.
Yeah. If you need a dog sitter because you want to go to the restaurant, you have a problem. You need a
That
dog trainer. You don't
exactly.
need a dog sitter.
I love that. That is so true. You need a dog trainer. And you need, if you do want to go to doggy daycare, you need to teach your dog how to be around other dogs without playing, without interacting. If you do not do that, I can almost guarantee you will have a leash reactive dog after like a few months. Yeah, that
That's
doesn't
it.
mean your dog is aggressive. It just means they're frustrated as heck because they don't learn to ignore dogs.
That's it.
That's it. Hey, those are our recommendations.
Yay.
That's our pros and cons list for doggy daycare.
And walks.
And walks. Sorry. Yes.
All
Um,
right.
I hope this was helpful to you and it might have helped you make a decision. Love to hear comments. Subscribe. Yeah,
Help
we'll
us
see you
grow.
next time. Yes, help us grow. 2024, guys. Make it happen.
Yay.
All right. I'll see
All
you
right.
next time. We'll see you next time. See ya.